President and I had a good first meeting. I shared my perspective with him. He shared his, and we agreed to continue the conversation. We want to make sure we do this in a responsible, reasonable way, and we'll be talking again.
All right, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy right there. McCarthy and President Joe Biden with their first ice-breaking meeting yesterday at the White House, talking about the debt ceiling and the need for agreement and common ground. For more on that, joining us now, Ohio Congressman and member of the House Financial Services Committee, Warren Davidson. Congressman, good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
So, Congressman, prior to this meeting, and we were just talking about this in the last segment, McCarthy talked to the AP back in 2015, and he talked about how much he enjoyed going to breakfast with Joe Biden at the Naval Observatory when Biden was vice president. McCarthy said, quote, he was always eager to sit down and talk. He was always a person who would like to try to find solutions and work together. Something clearly has changed. What do you think that is, Congressman?
Well, in those 7 years, Joe Biden certainly changed a lot. I think that's, pretty self-evident. But it's a tactic. I mean, they met yesterday and, just don't call it a negotiation. Obviously, they're negotiating. They're discussing how are we going to move forward. The president always wants unconditional, just do what I said. That's not unique by party or anything. And, of course, the House has a responsibility to change course. In this case, pretty dramatically. I mean, we clearly can't stay on the path we are headed on in terms of spending and deficits and debt. So we have to have that conversation. That is literally the purpose of the debt ceiling. So it inherently makes sense to link the two together. But it's true, we ultimately will need to raise the debt ceiling. We're not going to default on our debt. We should just have the discussion and negotiate and agree that we have to change course.
President Biden so far has not been willing to compromise on cuts. I want to play you a soundbite from what Joe Biden's former boss, Barack Obama, had to say about working with Republicans on things like the debt ceiling back in 2011.
Now, folks in Washington like to blame one another for this problem, but the truth is neither party is blameless, and both parties have a responsibility to do something about it. Every day, families are figuring out how to stretch their paychecks, struggling to cut what they can't afford so they can pay for what's really important. It's time for Washington to do the same thing. But for that to happen, it means that Democrats and Republicans have to work together. Everyone is going to have to be willing to compromise.
Okay, so Joe Biden's certainly not singing that same tune. The Washington Post had some reporting a few days ago saying that Republicans are eyeing cuts to Social Security and Medicare as this battle continues. Do you think that'll happen?
No, I mean, to me, I look at this accusation that Republicans are going to cut your Social Security and Medicare. It's the same kind of shtick, all the Republicans are racist. I mean, it's a lie meant to scare minorities, and all the Republicans are coming after your Social Security and Medicare. It's a lie meant to scare senior citizens. Different words, but same tactic, lie, divide, fear, into targeted groups, and that's the playbook, unfortunately, for Democrats.
Congressman, today's a special day in Washington. The National Prayer Breakfast returns. It's not going to happen in some, hotel ballroom. That's where it's been over the last few years. It's going to return to Capitol Hill, I believe, in the Capitol Hill Visitor Center. And Congress is taking back the prayer breakfast. It was started as a meeting between members of Congress and President Eisenhower back in the 50s. It's going to look more like that today. Can you give us a preview of what you're expecting this morning?
Yeah, that's a great description of it, and it had grown to this massive event. I think some of the same sort of things are going to go on at the same hotel in the northwest part of D.C., but they'll be live streaming it and broadcasting it there. There'll be meetings over there for, faith leaders from around the country, and it kind of get taken over in that sense by it was so crowded that when I would bring guests, they would sit in other rooms and watch it on a screen anyway. So I think that experience will be similar for a lot of the faith leaders from around the country. We'll have a much smaller group, and the focus in the room will be, members of the House and Senate, executive branch, and a handful of others to focus on praying for our country.
Yeah, we need it right now, certainly. Congressman, great to see you again. Congressman Warren Davidson with us. Thank you.
Thank you.